talking about weak men and not in the cute way, right? Not in the everybody's doing their best kind of way. No, I'm talking about real danger because weak men don't just ruin their own lives, okay? Weak men, they create chaos and drag, they create drama and just risk. Weak men, they create the problems that disciplined men that we then have to go and solve. And I'm not saying that to be cruel. No, I'm saying that because it's true. And if you don't learn to spot it, you're going to keep letting those weak men into your house, into your circle, into your business, and they're just going to keep infiltrating into your peace. A disciplined man, he builds order. Weak men, they leak disorder just openly. It just flows out of them nonstop. And it leads me to a truth that I think that gets a lot of people mad. Weakness does not happen by accident, okay? At least not always. A lot of weakness is chosen. It's a choice that people make. And it's not chosen in like a single moment, but it's chosen over time, over a slow time, little tiny pieces that just add up. And it's one of those things where it's like you know that saying of like a death by a thousand cuts. Well, it's like a thousand little votes, right, that create weakness. It's like a thousand little votes for comfort, and then a thousand little votes for excuses, and then a thousand more votes for I'll just do it tomorrow. Well, the problem is that eventually that man doesn't just have weak habits. No, he's just becomes a weak man. Now, I think I need to define what I mean because people love to misunderstand, and I feel like it's on purpose a lot of the time. I'm not going to talk about a man who's going through a hard season, okay? I'm not talking about a man who got hit, right? Got humbled and is rebuilding his life. No, I'm talking about the man who just refuses to rebuild. The man who wants the benefits of strength without the cost of his strength. The man who just wants respect without any discipline. And the man who wants a seat at your table without carrying any of the weight. That man is dangerous. Just he's dangerous. And it's because he doesn't just come with weakness. No, he comes with entitlement. He comes with resentment. He's coming with his excuses. And he comes with a need to be managed, right? Like, and here's the thing if you let him close, he will try to make his life look or make your life look like his because your discipline when it's compared to him it exposes all of his choices and your stability begins to make his chaos just obvious. So instead of becoming stronger, right, that weak man he's often going to try to just pull you down, and it's not always intentionally. Sometimes it's just gravity. Weak men are gravity. They pull things down towards the ground. Now here's the second truth, right? Weak men, they're just a lot of time they're just boys with beards. They look like men, they talk like men, they can even posture like men, but they don't have the core. They don't have the self control. They don't have the consistency. They don't have the responsibility. They don't have the endurance. Hell, they don't have the ability to shut up, listen, learn, and do the work. So you'll see them and you'll think, he's a grown man. He should be fine. And then you watch him under pressure, and that pressure reveals everything. Because a boy with a beard under pressure becomes emotional, reactive, defensive, and loud. He's blaming and impulsive. It's just straight up exhausting. A disciplined man under pressure, well, he becomes quieter and sharper, more deliberate in everything he does. And that difference, it matters. That difference can decide whether your home stays peaceful or whether your business stays stable, or hell, even if your mission just stays clean. Because weak men don't just fail quietly. No, weak men, they create a blast radius. What's up, Leticia Santos? How you doing? Let me put what I'm saying into some plain mountain language here, right? A weak man is the guy who forgets the weather is actually real. He leaves camp unprepared, and then when the storm hits and he expects everybody else to come and rescue him, and if you don't rescue him, well, he calls you cruel, right? And that's weakness culture. Let me say it again, weakness culture. It doesn't just produce weak people, it actually produces something more dangerous. It produces entitled weak people. And entitled weak people are some of the most dangerous people that you can allow into your circle. Because they don't just need help. No, they're demanding it, right? They don't ask. They don't ask it. Hell, they resent. They don't learn. They blame. Now, I want to give you guys something here that's practical. I want to help you to identify weak men. What's up, XXO VO triple? Now, I'm going to give you this, and not with a checklist you use to judge strangers, because that's not the point. What it is a set of signals that you can use to protect your circle. And this is what I do. And here are the signs that I look for. One, a weak man talks more than he works. That weak man is going to have an opinion on everything and a skill at pretty much nothing. That's the big dead giveaway. We all know guys like that, right? That man, that weak man, he can narrate his dreams in perfect detail, but he can't execute basic discipline. He's always about to start. Right on. Thank you. Thanks for the sub. Appreciate it. That weak man, he's always in the process, right? He's always trying to figure it out. And somehow, years pass by and nothing changes. A weak man avoids discomfort like it's poison, right? He can't do silence. He can't do boredom. He can't do hard conversations. Hey, I really appreciate the subscription and the likes, you guys. It helps me a lot. But the other thing with weak men is they can't do accountability, right? So they can't do that slow grind of improvement that it takes. Because that weak man, he needs stimulation and validation. He needs rescue. A weak man is allergic to the word no. What's up, Gustav? Welcome to the live stream. When you tell that weak man no, he gets emotional, right? He gets offended and manipulative. He gets super dramatic because he believes that the world owes him access. You see, a weak man has a definable pattern of small betrayals, right? And not the dramatic kind. They're all little ones. Like, he says he'll show up, and then he doesn't. He says he'll do it, but he doesn't. He says that he's changed, but when you look at him, you see his habits haven't changed at all. He says he's disciplined, but you look at his life and it's just pure disorganized chaos. And then he wants you to trust the words that he's speaking instead of the patterns of his behavior. A disciplined man trusts patterns, right? Not speeches. And weak men, they love speeches. It's because a weak man is always explaining and rationalizing. He's always narrating his intentions, and he's always telling you, right, what he meant. He's having to explain himself. But a man is not what he meant. A man is what he does, right? Or what a man is what he does. A weak man, he's going to get ruled by his emotions. He's up and he's down, hot and cold, motivated for 2 days. He collapses for 5. He's only consistent in one thing, and that is his inconsistency. You see, a weak man is obsessed with image. He's got the beard, the hat, the quotes, the alpha talk, the tactical this, the patriotic that. But he doesn't train. He doesn't practice. He doesn't build. He's just a billboard with no foundation. And that's the danger of a weak man, of a boy with a beard. He looks the part, he speaks the part, he posts the part, but he can't carry the load. Now, here's why you have to get weak men out of your circle. You got to get them gone, because your circle, it actually determines your standards, right? So your circle is going to determine what feels normal for you and what you can tolerate. And weak men, they normalize weakness, right? They normalize excuses and complaining and quitting. I like to do the hard road hour, and I like to talk about weak men because I like to give men who might be searching for better answers and a better way to live their life and have direction. And I feel like these talks can do that. So when weak men are normalizing all these things, right? The quitting and the whole like, I'll do things someday. And I guess it was a good battery. My absence fell Christ by the cost of tax 3 years later. Never again. You see, let me get back on topic here because I was reading Messy Headroom's talk in the chat here. Let me get back on topic here. You see, you cannot build an ordered life while you keep letting disorder sit at your table. You cannot have weak men sitting around your table or in your world. And it doesn't mean that we hate weak men. It means that we are protecting our mission. Let me try to make this land real good here, okay? If you let a weak man close, he is going to eventually ask you to carry what he refuses to carry. And he's going to want you, the strong man, to carry all his responsibilities, his emotional instability, his unfinished projects, the consequences. And if you're not careful, you might even mistake that for loyalty, right? You'll call it being a good guy, or you'll call it helping, but all you're really doing is enabling the weakness. And enabling doesn't help a weak man. It actually further traps him, and it drags you down with him. So yeah, we should help people, right? Because helping is honorable, but you have to help correctly. Because helping a weak man who refuses to change is not charity, is actually just straight up futility. Like, it's a waste of time. It's pouring water into a bucket that has the bottom cut out of it, right? So here's the hard road rule, right? You can help a man who is changing. You do not carry a man who is refusing, because those are not the same thing. Now, how do you help a weak man, right, who shows signs of self-change, right? Well, you do it carefully, and you do it with rules, because the disciplined man does not get manipulated by their pity, right? He doesn't get pulled off mission by another man's avoidance of his responsibility. So here's how we do it, right? We help with structure, not with sympathy, right? We apply standards, and we don't give these guys speeches. We show them accountability, and we don't go out to rescue them when their behaviors have put them into a hole. So that means that if a man comes to you and says, I want to change, you don't pat him on the head and say, oh, good job, buddy. No, you say, okay, what are you doing today? Right? Not, what do you plan, or what do you hope? You don't say crap like that. You just say, what are you doing today? And if you can't answer that simple question, he's not changing. No, all he's doing is standing there and performing in front of you. And a man, right? How do we know the difference, right? Thanks, man. Thanks, Daniel. A man who is changing can name the actions that he's taken for change. And a man who is performing can only name his intentions. So what do? You set boundaries. You say, I will help you if you do these steps. And the steps, they literally have to be measurable, right? Like things like show up on time, train 3 days a week, stop drinking, delete your apps, get a damn job, right? Go to a counselor. Or, hey, I mean, I've done this with guys that I've mentored. I'd say, read this book and bring me notes in a week and we'll talk. Because, it just has to be concrete and measurable actions. And there has to be consequence because without consequence, you're not helping that man change. You're just helping him stay the same. And that's the part I think that a lot of people just kind of, it goes right over because weak men are going to use kindness to avoid self growth. They're going to use your compassion as a loophole. They're going to cry. We've all seen men cry, right? They'll apologize. They'll talk about their past traumas and how hard it is. And they'll talk about how they're trying. And then they'll go and they'll do nothing, right? And then after that, they're going to come back around for another round of emotional relief from you. And there's been no behavioral change. That's not a man improving. That's a man feeding. Yeah, Daniel, it's one of mine too. It's not my idea. The whole about giving a man a book and asking him for notes. I learned that from my grandfather, who was a colonel in the U.S. military. And I tell you what, you're right. I would say 9 times out of 10, to throw a number on it, those men aren't going to read the book. But that's the litmus test, right? You're not going to provide any more help. Because that's not a man improving. That's a man who's just feeding, right? He's feeding on your attention, your patience, your energy. And if you allow it, correct, okay, that's when you become drained. You might even start to begin to feel resentful, distracted, and compromised. And that's not feeling like a strong man or being a strong man. And that's just how weak men will bring chaos into the world of a disciplined man. They don't kick the door down. No, weak men, they come leaking in through the cracks, right? They do it through the cracks of sympathy, the cracks of guilt, through the friendships that you might develop. I mean, sometimes they even do it just through the desire to be nice, right? And, as disciplined men, we must be kind, but we cannot allow ourselves to become naive. So maybe here's the filter, right? If that man takes correction well, there's a good chance that he might be salvageable and you can offer some help. If he gets offensive or defensive, offended, angry, or if he begins to become manipulative when you give him a standard, well, right there, that man is not ready. He's not. But if he respects boundaries from you, he might actually be changing. Something might be happening inside him. But if he tries to negotiate boundaries, then he's not changing, right? It's like consequences. If he's owning them, he's probably growing, right? But if he's blaming everyone else, he's still a boy. Now, I want to talk directly to the guy listening who realizes that he might be the weak man. I want to say one thing. Good. That's actually where it starts. That's where the change starts, because the first step out of weakness is not motivation. It's just straight up honesty, right? You have to stop lying to yourself. You have to. You gotta stop romanticizing the person that you think you are. You have to stop being steered by a grand image of who you think you are. And you have to become the kind of man who can become just coachable. You need to be able to just shut your mouth and learn, right? No matter what age we are. Shut this thing. Learn, listen, right? That's another thing I want to say because I think it's going to save some men is keep your hobbies to yourself. Nobody cares to listen to your music or your art. They don't. Okay. And I know that sounds harsh, but I'm telling you, it's actually freeing once you accept it. Because if your art is real, if your music is good, it's just going to speak for itself, right? If people like it, they'll follow you on your own. You don't have to narrate it, you don't have to beg for attention. I mean, weak men constantly talk about what they're doing, constantly. Strong men, we just do it. Weak men announce, right? Strong men, we deliver. So we let it's like you got to let your work introduce you, right? Allow that reputation to walk into the room way before you do. Now let me see if I can bring this home. Oh, one second here. I want to look at the comments. Don't know. There's far away ones that came back. Right? Hey, there's some truth there, Daniel. I absolutely agree. It's it definitely keeps the losers out, right? And I don't want any man to be a loser. I want all men to find strength, but that's just not the case, right? So let me wrap it up here a little bit. So here's a rule that I think we could use for like inner circle life, right? I like to keep at least 3 men in my life who are stronger than me in some category, right? I don't need men who are louder or stronger. I need men who are more disciplined and more consistent and more competent. Men whose presence makes me raise my own standards. And you need to remove or distance from the men who always bring the excuses and the chaos and the drama and the disorder because your time is not infinite, right? Your energy is definitely not infinite, and the mission, it has a cost. And if you spend your life managing weak men, you won't actually ever get to become the man you were meant to be. Some of us, we keep weak men around because when we have weak men around us, it can actually make us feel strong, right? And it makes us feel like we're the capable ones. And maybe sometimes we like being the rescuer, we like being the guy that everybody comes to for answers. But when you allow yourself to fit into those roles, you're stealing from yourself. Stealing from yourself. Because real growth comes when you're around men who humble you, right? Men who make you realize that, damn, there's another level. And that's how you become strong over time. You don't become strong by being surrounded by weak men who just, oh yeah, you're so awesome. We don't need those dudes, right? We don't need guys who just clap for you. You become strong by being surrounded by disciplined men who demand more of you. So here's what I think the honorable path is. Be a strong man, right? Build your discipline. It's so easy. Sharpen skills and lead your damn household. And when you help others, sit down and intellectually think about what is the right way to actually help them. Standards, accountability, boundaries. Because if a man refuses those, we don't want to hate him. We just want to release him. Let him meet consequences because consequences are one of the greatest teachers on earth, right? I mean, and sometimes like the kindest thing you can do is just stop interfering with another man's consequences. That's the hard road truth right there. Okay, so I've been going kind of off on this topic, but I'm going to close it like this. Weak men are dangerous. And it's not because they're evil, always. No, it's because they're just unstable, undisciplined, and resentful. And they bring chaos. They bring risk. They bring distraction. And if you don't learn to spot it, you'll keep letting it into your circle and wondering why your life feels so heavy. So you guys go out there today, protect your mission, work to become a stronger man yourself. And if you help a weak man, demand proof of change. not speeches. We want to see the receipts, right? Because we're laying down the receipts in our lives. Let's see them from the men we want to help. Because speeches are damn cheap, right? But patterns are real. Guys, if you've enjoyed this, if you got some food for thought from this, feel free to check out my channel. Appreciate the likes and subscribes this morning. And yeah, this has been the Hard Road Truth. So see y'all on the other side. Thanks.